Parables, simple stories used to illustrate a moral or spiritual lesson. Salt. You are the salt of the earth. But if the salt loses its saltiness, how can it be made salty again? It is no longer good for anything except to be thrown out and trampled underfoot.
This is exactly the way that Jesus taught. In a parable, a short story teaching a moral or a spiritual lesson. This is the way that Jesus would speak before crowds. He would give stories. He would talk about people, persons, places, things, events, all to get across a simple idea for you to learn something morally, for you to learn something spiritually. Now, what I believe tonight is that God wants to do something special. Something special through you, and something special through your generation. I believe there is something special about your generation. But here's what you got to ask yourself. And I want you to really ask yourself this question. I want you to come up with an answer in your head, and I don't want you to say it out loud. Are you okay with God doing something in you? No response. Are you okay with God doing something in you? Because here I am, I'm telling you, God wants to use you. He wants to do something special with you. He wants to do something very crazy with your generation. Before He can use His power through you, He's got to do something in you. So, are you okay with God doing something in you? So, recapping a little bit last week, there's an idea that I want you to remember. And that idea is that parables are the proof. Parables are the proof that God wants to be understood by you. That He wants to be known by you. That He wants to experience with you. And parables are the proof of that whole idea. So here we are, we've looked at the parable of the sower and the 4 different types of soils. Last week we looked at building your house on a rock. And tonight we're looking at you are the salt of the earth. Now, I don't know about you, but sometimes when I read the Bible, even now, in my older age and in my wisdom, I read the Bible and I look at it and I go, I have no idea what he's talking about. I got nothing. No idea what he's trying to say. And I think this passage is one of those scriptures where he says, you are the salt of the earth. I look at that originally and I go, that's cool. What does that mean? That sounds fun. That sounds bitter and salty, but it sounds good.
The Bible plainly doesn't need to be salty.
Yeah, it's not. But he says, all right, this is what I want you to understand. Understand this. In this parable, he's talking to believers. He's talking to followers of him. He's talking to Christians. So if you're a Christian tonight, I want you to read this, all right? Give me the verse. Matthew 5, verse 13. And I want you to look at the first statement, and I want you to realize who he's talking to, and I want you to realize that person he's talking to is you. He says, you are the salt of the earth. You are the salt of the earth. He's talking to you, if you call yourself a Christian. So he says this, you're the salt of the earth. But if the salt loses its saltiness, how can it be made salty again? That's kind of funny, right? It is no longer good for anything except to be thrown out and trampled underfoot. Now, there's actually some symbolism here. And what I want you to get is that is very literal. If the salt in this day and age, Jesus' time, had lost its saltiness. What they would do is they would take that salt and they would dump it on the walkways. They would dump it where the pathways were, where there was a lot of foot traffic. Why? Because it had no other purpose. That's one reason. The second reason, if you threw it away in your yard or if you threw it away in your garden, that salt would kill what you're trying to grow. It would choke it out and it would kill it. So they would literally take the salt. What's up, bud? What did you say?
I said gardening tips for weeds.
Yes, exactly. You don't want weeds? Salt. Salt. That's kind of fun. Salt. Anyway, so they would take it and they would throw the salt on the pathways where people would walk. And it said in this passage, except to be thrown out and trampled underfoot. Now what he's saying here, there's some symbolism here. He's saying if you're not being salt to the earth, if you're not doing this, you have no meaning. Who's he talking to? Christians, believers, followers. He says if you're not being salt of the earth, you might as well just be some road work. You serve zero purpose. Now where I'm from East Tennessee. And in East Tennessee we have 4 seasons. Summer, fall, winter, and what's the other one? Spring. Here in Charleston, have to think about it. It's been a long time. Here in Charleston, you have 2 seasons. You have 2 seasons. Hot and really, really hot. All right.
I'm from Massachusetts.
That sounds awful. Okay. So in East Tennessee, we're 4 seasons. So sometimes this thing called winter comes around. All right.
What's that?
I know exactly. Right. What's that? I'm gonna tell you about it. So sometimes this thing called winter comes around. Hey guys, back to me. Anyway. Winter comes around, and it gets this thing called cold.
Whoa.
Right?
Never heard of
Right? And sometimes rain will fall. And when rain falls and it's cold, you get this weird thing called snow. Now I know that you Charleston folks,
Okay, we don't all.
great, you don't count because you're a Bostonian or whatever that is. All right?
We've seen snow.
Please.
Not
Yeah.
everyone
Okay.
in Massachusetts is from Boston.
Anyways, all right, guys, back to me. So what happens in East Tennessee, because there's a lot of hills and there's a lot of curves, roads are really windy. So what they'll do when it gets cold and it starts to snow, they'll take salt and they'll throw it on the road. So therefore, it's now serving a purpose so tires don't slide off the road, people don't get hurt, bad things don't happen, right? But you don't know about that because it doesn't snow and cold. It doesn't happen. Not only, wait. Not only do you not have cold, you don't have heels.
We throw sand.
Sand.
Spencer.
What's a curve?
So some of you guys are like, we have heels, go over into Camelot. There's one about this steep. I'm going, okay. Yeah. So, but here you don't have that. Now, in East Tennessee, when it gets cold and it snows, that salt serves a purpose. In this passage where Jesus is talking about this, he says this salt, it has no purpose. So what he's saying is if you're not being salt of the earth, you're wasting your time. You have no purpose. You're not doing anything. You're basically wasted space. All right? Look at this. You are the salt of the earth. I want to paraphrase it this way. If you're not being salt of the earth, anything else is just a waste of time. That's what he's saying. You are the salt of the earth. If you're not doing that, you're wasting your time. Matthew 5:13, DTV, Danny Tucker version. Okay? All right, here we go. Well, what exactly is Jesus trying to say? He says, He says, be the salt of the earth. What does that mean? So as I started to prepare this, I went, all right, what purpose does salt serve? What role does it play? How does it act? What does it do? So I started thinking about the properties of salt. So let's jump right into this, all right? The first thing that I could think of that salt serves a purpose in doing was this. It acts as a medicine. It's medicinal. It's a healing agent. It helps you heal. Now, when I was little, I went over to my Aunt Debbie's a lot. And especially when I got sick. When I got sick, or my anything was wrong, I wanted my Aunt Debbie. All right. And Courtney calls this thing called Dan crud. Sometimes I get sick 2-3 times a year, and it's just called a cold, it's called a flu, nothing like that. She says, "You got that Dan crud," because I'm the only one who seems to get this garbage. All right. So when this stuff comes around, my throat gets really sore, and I start hawking up stuff that's like weird colors. Like, I'm sorry, don't lie. You guys have been the ones going. Anyway.
No.
I can't do that sound.
I do that daily. No.
It's disgusting.
Let's
Now, what my Aunt Debbie would have me do is she would have me take hot water. And I know you can't touch this, but I promise you,
ever.
it's hot. Okay? Hot water right here. Now check this out. This lid, it's got a spoon in it.
Dude, that is so cool.
Right?
I want that.
So she would take hot water and she would take salt. Okay? And she would stir it in the hot.
It doesn't look like
Oh, that jump.
Dump it all in.
I don't drink it.
Listen, I'm not currently sick.
I'll drink it.
All right, guys. All right. So,
You don't drink it. Have y'all never done this?
so you take the hot water. Hey, guys. I can't talk over you. You take the hot water, you put salt in it, and you do this right here. So what that does, it acts as a healing agent. It takes that stuff in your throat. I can't believe I just did that. I could have just told you.
Please tell me.
And it starts to heal the stuff you got going on in your throat. Now, this is really good if you have a tooth that comes out and you've got that open gap and it's an exposed, it's an open wound. You take salt and you heat it up in hot. I don't even want to look at this anymore. Okay? You heat it up, you stir it up, and you gargle it, and it helps heal what's going on inside of your mouth. Think about this. Have you ever jumped into the ocean
Yeah.
Sure.
with an open wound?
Yes.
And the minute your body hits that water, what's your reaction? Ow! Yeah! That hurts. Didn't know that was there. When salt hits, guys, stay with me. When salt hits that open wound, you now realize, oh, there's a cut there. There's something open because it starts to burn. It starts to stink. All right? That salt that's hitting that open wound is actually healing you. It's kind of like the same thing as pouring on hydrogen peroxide.
Yes.
It burns, it stings, but what it's doing in that burning and stinging, it's actually healing you.
It's just
It's killing the bacteria. Now, Dan, what are you talking about? Because Jesus is telling you, be the salt of the earth. What he's saying is, act as a medicine. Be a healing agent for people. Because you and I both know, you've lived long enough to realize that bad stuff happens. That the cancer word pops up in your family. Somebody gets into a car wreck. There's a breakup. Your buddy, his parents are going through a divorce. And God says, Jesus is saying, you are the salt of the earth. It is your job to heal them, to restore them, to love them. Not to gargle salt, okay? But to heal them, to love them. What he's saying is you and I need to provide healing for people. You don't have to look very far, especially if you're in public high school, to see somebody hurting, right? People go through stuff. Life happens. Crap hits the fan. Jesus is saying, you're the salt of the earth. Be the healing agent. There should be something about our life that provides a place of healing. Maybe you have this person in your life where the bottom falls out and you call them. And you know exactly who it is. You've got this person in the forefront of your mind right now. You can go and you can rely on them. They're going to offer you comfort. They're going to offer you restoration. They're going to heal you just by being around them. So for one, it's a medicine. It acts as a healing agent. It is medicinal. It took me forever to learn how to pronounce that.
Medicine.
No, not medicinal. The second one, so not only is it a medicine, it's a flavor. It's a flavor. Have you ever watched the cooking shows?
Yeah.
What's that one where that dude's like screaming at everything? I don't know why he's screaming, but he's always mad about something.
Ramsey.
And I'm like, dude, you're yelling at the wrong person. But what they're always doing, they're always talking about the aspect of flavor. The flavor of this, the flavor of that. Flavor. And the one big no-no that you do not do in cooking is oversalt your dish. Do not oversalt your dish. Courtney and I have gotten to the habit, it's almost a nightly thing, we like to make cookies, alright? And these, let's be like, ooh, don't get your hopes up. These are like a healthy cookie, okay? They're good. They're good. So this is what happens. Let me explain this to you. I'm a very, very bad multitasker. It's bad. Like, I really, listen, look, I cannot talk on the phone and drive at the same time. If you ever see me on the road and I'm driving behind the wheel and I'm talking on the phone like this, get out of the way. I'm serious, because I'm bound to make the wrong turn. I'm going to use the right blinker when I'm trying to turn left. It's bad. I can't do it. I really just need to stay off the phone. If there's something that's weighing on my mind, if I've got a lot going up in my brain, it doesn't matter what I'm doing. If I'm driving a car, if I'm mowing my grass, if I'm, peeing, I don't know. It doesn't matter. I can't focus. So here I am. I'm making cookies. All right. Courtney's in the living room. She's doing her own thing. I said, don't worry about it. I'll make the cookies tonight. So I throw in the almond flour. I throw in the vanilla extract. I throw in, what else does it call for? A little bit of water, a little bit of,
Honey.
no eggs. It also calls for honey. So I'm throwing all this stuff in, and I look and I said, salt. Okay, cool. Well, it called for 1 teaspoon.
Oh my gosh.
A fourth of a teaspoon.
I added a cup.
Oh my
It's because I can't multitask, okay? I just can't do it. I had no idea what I was doing. So I throw them in the oven. I pull them out. 8 minutes has gone by. The longest 8 minutes ever when you're waiting on something
They were
delicious
beautiful.
like cookies. So, hey, I'm getting it. So I pull them out, and I'm like, oh, these look good. All right. So I'm taking my scoop them out. Courtney always wants 3. I eat 5. I put her 3 on a plate. Listen, I'm 6'5". She's 5, whatever she is. Right? Okay. So I take her 3. I put them on a plate. I grab her a glass of milk, and I carry them to her. Here you go, honey. And she goes, oh, these look like perfection. I go, yeah. I walk into the kitchen, and I hear, bleh. And I went, you don't like them? Because I'm real excited about these, and that was the last of our almond flour. What's wrong? She's like, I think you added too much salt. I went, I did like it said. And I looked at it and I went, whoo! A teaspoon!
1/4.
She said,
Oops! So needless to say, we didn't have cookies that night. Here's the big no-no. Here's the big no-no. You do not over-salt your dish. So a typical dish, a typical meal, you've got your protein, you've got your chicken breast, or you've got your pork chop, or maybe even your steak. And then you've got your starch, maybe your mashed potato,
corn rice.
or your tater tot,
Mac and
which
cheese.
you don't know about life until you've had these. Courtney and I really love these sweet potato tater tots. Oh, dog! Telling you what. So you've got your protein, then you've got your starch, and then you've got your veggie, right? So it can be a green bean, it can be zucchini, which we like. We've gotten into turnip greens as of late. We love those. I like to mix stuff together, just kind of stir it in a pot and see what I can get. But the one thing that's going to bring the protein, the veggie, and the starch all together is salt. It's going to make that meal whole. Now, for one, you don't over-salt it, but it is the salt that brings it all together. If you forget the salt, you get a very bland-tasting piece of steak, a very bland slab of mashed potatoes, a very bland veggies. And most of you are like, oh, veggies are bland anyway. Yeah.
No,
You're not adding salt. That's your problem.
Not adding salt. See, salt Salt, hey guys, back to me. Salt is the influencer of flavors. Without it, things are kind of bland. When I was little, again, my Aunt Debbie, she liked to make homemade ice cream. Yes, Jesus. So I was like, Aunt Debbie, I'm going to help you this time. Let me help you do this. So she's like, give me all these ingredients. I'm throwing in that thing, and I'm doing this number right here. And she's like, okay, add the salt. And I went, what? Salt and ice cream? No. No, Aunt Debbie, you don't know what you're talking about. You've lost your mind. Salt? No. That goes on like potatoes and stuff, not ice cream. So she said, okay, you do what you want. So I didn't add salt into it. You know what I did not have that night?
Ice cream.
Ice cream! Because the salt is what brings out the flavor in that ice cream. There's several people who've told me now, go try the new salted hot chocolate at Starbucks. Have you guys had that?
No.
Have you had the salted caramel milkshake thingy at Dairy Queen? No?
Salted
All
caramel,
right.
everything is
It
delicious.
just met Jesus. Yes, Lord, salted caramel.
Salted caramel, anything is
It's
delicious.
the salt
Okay.
that brings out the flavor in the caramel. It's the salt that brings out the flavor in the chocolate. It's the salt that influences these flavors. Now, what is Jesus telling you? You're the salt of the earth. It is your job to bring out the best in people. It is your job to not only see the best in people, but to bring that out in them. I don't know about you, but I have a few people in my life who I can go around, and when I'm around these people, I get excited about life. I just feel like I'm motivated, I'm energized, and they're bringing out the best in me. And this is exactly what Jesus is telling you. No matter the background of somebody, their skin color, what they said, what they've seen, what they've done, it does not matter. It is your job to bring out the best in that person. See, I'm a better person because of Courtney. I'm a better man because of my wife. She brings out the best in me. She challenges me. So that boyfriend, girlfriend you got, are they bringing out the best in you? Or what about that team that you're on? Are you bringing out the best in your team? Or what about your family? Are you the key piece in your family that's bringing out the best in everybody else? Let me get on a high horse here for a minute. I know a lot of you are not sports fans, but I'm going to go ahead and put this one topic to rest, all right? The conversation of comparing LeBron James to Michael Jordan. Josh, take notes, bud.
Please. Jordan's better every day.
LeBron James, phenomenal athlete, 6'6", 280. He can run like a gazelle. He will literally jump over you and dunk the ball, all right? He will sit his butt cheeks on the top of your head, all right? He can do it.
That's weird. Don't do that.
He is an incredible athlete. He's now won 3 NBA playoffs. Jordan, on the other hand, won 6 NBA titles.
Yeah.
Jordan was the guy. Here's the difference between LeBron James and Michael Jordan. Tell me who Scottie Pippen is without Michael Jordan. Tell me who Luke Longley is without Michael Jordan. Tell me who Horace Grant is without Michael
Dennis
Jordan.
Rodman.
Because, hey, stop. LeBron James needs Chris Bosh, and he needs Dwayne Wade. He's not bringing out the best in the smaller guys like Anderson Varejao. I know you're like, who are these things? I can make up stuff like President George Bush. You know?
I know, you can just say anything.
I can say
right
anything.
now. Yeah, every single time.
He's not bringing out the best in Brian Jordan.
I have no idea.
That's not the right person.
The difference between the two is Michael was
Let's
so
not bring
good,
him.
so good about bringing out the best in his team. That's why he's called the greatest of all time. And here Jesus is saying, it is your job to bring out the best in people. You are the salt of the earth. And if you're not doing that, if you're not bringing out the best in people, then you're wasting your time. You're not living life for anything. It's not what you're called to do. The one who is salt is constantly bringing out the best flavor with everyone that they are in contact with. And some of you, you know you have this person in your life. you can get around this person. The best of you just starts to come out. And what I want you to see is salt is a under the surface component. Nobody eats a slab of steak and goes, man, the salt on that steak was perfect.
I do.
Nobody does that.
I've done that before.
What they do, they say, man, that was cooked right. That was just medium. That was seasoned. That was marinated just right. They don't talk about the salt. No, you don't.
Yeah, I do.
No,
I do.
you
You guys
do
are
not.
just-
I've done it before.
Liar, liar.
I promise you.
Mine is
Bad. Brilliant. Now, so he says, be a medicine, heal, and then he says, be a flavor, bring out the best in people, and then he says this, thirst. Salt makes you thirsty. One of my favorite things about going to Alabama to stay with my in-laws is that my father-in-law will make the best breakfast. We're talking bacon. Yes, Christian. Sausage, pancakes, toast, biscuits, eggs, grits. Oh, so good. And what I do every time, I wake up that morning, I smell that stuff, and I gain a lot of weight. I eat a lot of food, okay? And what I'll notice is that later in the day, having eaten that breakfast from earlier that morning, I'll go, I'm a little parched. My palate is dry. I'm a little thirsty. Why? Guys, hey, there's a lot of talking going on, and it's not me, and I don't like Chelsea. Why is that happening? Because in that breakfast food, it has a lot of, you guessed it, salt. So what my body is starting to do is taking that salt and it's using it as a vehicle to absorb water. That salt is absorbing all the water in my body. Am I right, Angel? Have I got my health science right? Well, yeah, go this way. All right? Now, think about this. Gatorade has a reputation of being known as what?
Electrolyte. No, quench.
A sport?
The thirst quencher.
No.
Gatorade has a reputation of being known as the thirst quencher. Now, if Gatorade, let me just preface this, if Gatorade is the only thing you're drinking, stop and go see some it's like
You're
go
going to get a
rehab,
kidney
okay?
stone.
Because, yes, it's got a lot of electrolytes in it. It's got a lot of carbs in it to give you energy. What it's got even more of? The sodium level on that thing is out of the wazoo. Okay? You're basically drinking salt. And that Gatorade is absorbing all of the water in your body. Where am I going with this? I'm not sure. Not real sure. What I want you to see is that salt, look at this stuff. Look at that. Salt, looking at it makes me thirsty. Salt causes thirst. Now, what is Jesus saying to us here? Jesus is saying, guys, hey, please. Jesus is saying, you are the salt of the earth. It is your job to make others thirsty about Him. Your life should be causing a hunger and a thirst for other people to want to know Jesus. You are acting as a salt component, bringing out a thirst in others. See, when I was just getting into church and I was 14 years old, it was, I believe it was my freshman year. It was the spring of 2002. Some of you weren't even born yet. That's what's crazy. Spring of 2002, I go into a church for really the first time on my own. And I was very hesitant. I didn't grow up in church. I basically grew up a heathen. Couldn't spell Jesus forwards or backwards. Didn't know if the guy was real or if he was an angel or like if he was going to come down in my sleep and take my teeth. Found out later that was a tooth fairy, which doesn't exist. Anyway, sorry. I just busted each other. I know, sorry. My bad. So, I met a guy that night, and you guys have met him before. The guy I met was actually my youth pastor. His name was Bucky. And I struggled, guys, listen to me. I struggled with the older male figures. Because there wasn't a dad in my life, I struggled with him. It took a lot for me to even shake an older man's hand. So here comes Bucky. And I realized there's something different about this guy. I can't quite point it out. But so I kept going Wednesday after Wednesday after Wednesday. And I noticed how patient he was. And I noticed how forgiving he was. And I noticed how full of grace that he was. And how compassionate he was. And how on fire he was about this guy named Jesus. And you know what it did to me? It made me thirsty. It was like, I want to be whatever he's about. And he's about Jesus. There was a longing, a hunger, a thirst that was created in me to want to know Jesus. Now let me ask you this. If I interviewed 5 of your closest friends or family, if I interviewed them, what would they say about you? What would they say about the thirst that they have because of you? Would they say, man, I love being around this person. I get so encouraged, I get excited about Jesus. That's all I want to talk about. Or would they say, I'm good. The Jesus thing, really not my deal. You know, they're kind of a fake. It's okay, we're buds, it's fine, like no hard feelings, but not really my thing. What would these 5 people in your life say? Would they say that you're creating a thirst in them? Or would they say that their thirst is quenched, that they're good? Think about that. Because I'm sick of that. Jesus says, you are the salt of the earth. It is our job as Christians, me too, to live our lives in such a way that it makes other people interested in what we have. He says, create a thirst in them. Finally, the last property of salt that I could think of, number 4, is a preservative. A preservative. The root word here for preservative, persevere. The root word for preservative, to persevere. Back in the day, long time ago, way before refrigerators, if people had just killed a goat or a lamb and they needed to preserve the meat, they would take salt and they would dump it all over the meat. Because what that would do, it would literally preserve, I don't know how else to use this word here, preserve that meat for a really, really long time. You guys ever done the McDonald's challenge where you go to McDonald's, you buy a $1 fish sandwich, you leave it out for a year, you come back and it looks the exact same? You ever done that?
No.
You know why? You know one reason it does that?
Because it's fake.
It's fake and it's got a buttload of salt in it. It has got more sodium than the Pacific Ocean. It is ridiculous. I don't recommend eating a year-old fish sandwich from McDonald's, and I don't recommend eating a brand new fish sandwich from McDonald's. That junk is just nasty. It makes my tummy hurt just thinking about it. But it says to persevere. Now, one of my favorites,
Beef jerky.
beef jerky. Now I just need to make sure here. This is a meat. Let's see. This is a meat here that's. Let me just test it. See, I don't even see an expiration.
It should be on the front.
All right. Now let me read this to you. I got 80 calories that I just consumed. Okay. 1 ounce of meat, 80 calories. I got a gram of fat. I got 20 milligrams of cholesterol. I got 170 milligrams of potassium. I got 5 grams of carbs. 5 grams of sugar. I got 14. Man, just because of 14. I got 14 grams of protein. I got 630 milligrams of salt. Woo! You guessed it.
That's about it.
Two things. One, I'm thirsty. Two, you're not getting none.
Yeah.
Jesus says, you are the salt of the earth. It is your job to help people persevere. Like we've already said, life hits, right? Bad things happen. Sometimes crap hits the fan and there is nothing that you can do about it. Jesus says when this happens for those people that you're aware of, that are in your network, that are in your family, that are your friends, that you know, or maybe that you don't know, Jesus said it is your job to help them get through. Because sometimes you've got friends who go through breakups. It's hard. Sometimes you've got a friend whose mom and dad are getting divorced. Last year, I got a phone call from my mom and she dropped the C word. Courtney acted as the preservative in my life. Said everything's going to be fine. It was. Whether or not what happened, whether my mom made it out alive or she didn't, Courtney acted as the preservative and said, we will get through this. And I promise you, if you think hard enough, if you open your eyes to your surroundings and the people that you go to school with, if you just start looking and observing and watching other people, I promise you, maybe just down the lunch table, you'll find somebody who you can help preserve, who you can help persevere and say, hey, we're going to get through this. Because life sucks sometimes. It's hard. Sometimes it hits harder than others, and sometimes it hits other people harder than it hits other people. But he's saying, you're the salt of the earth. It is your job to help carry them. It is your job to grab them, to pick them up and say, I got you. We're going to get through this. And now what stinks is that idea in your culture, in your time, in your day, that mentality just doesn't exist. And Jesus is saying, don't lose your saltiness. Be the salt of the earth. Help whoever that person is get through. So let me ask you this. Is your life, rhetorical, is your life helping somebody get through? Are you helping somebody persevere? Are you holding on to them, saying, hey, we're going to do this? Is your life saying that? Now, if you remember at the beginning, I said, I believe that God wants to do something through you. I believe that God wants to do something through your generation. And then I said, sorry, I still got proteins all in my teeth. And then I said, before God can do something through you, God has to do something in you. Now, don't lose that. God has to do something in you before He can do something through you. So before you can be a healing agent for somebody else, God has to be that healing agent for you. Before you can bring out the best in other people, God has to bring out the best in you. Before you're creating that thirst for Jesus from other people, God's got to do that in you first. And finally, before you can help somebody else persevere, He's got to hold you first. So let's take those same principles and let's recap this. I want you to really, really look at this. I want you to see how God wants to do something in you. Now, maybe you fall under the medicine category. Maybe you'd say, I don't know this Jesus. And I would tell you that you're broken. That you are eternally separated from God. That you need to be healed. And the only thing that's going to heal you is the medicine of Christ Himself. He can be your salt, who can heal you, who can heal you from that sin. Whether you've been saved for 15, 20 years or whether you are not saved at all, you're all dealing with sin in some form or fashion. And Jesus says, I can be your medicine. And then he says, flavor. Before you can start bringing out the best in other people, he says, nobody else knows you the way that I do. Nobody else knows the number of hairs on your head. Nobody knows the thoughts in your mind like I do. So nobody else knows how to bring out the best in you the way that I do. I am your salt. And then he says, thirst. And what you'll find is if you'll buy into this Jesus thing, if you'll give your life to Him, and as you start walking with Him every day, what you'll find is you'll learn more about Him, but the more that you learn about Him, you'll realize the more that you just don't know about Him. See, I'm 29 years old. I've been studying for a long time. I've been through seminary. I got a bachelor's degree. Whoop-de-doo. The more time I spend with Jesus and the more that I learn about Him, the more I realize I don't know. The more that I find out I don't know about Him. And what He continually does in my life is He creates a thirst. And I find myself hungry and thirsty over Him, saying, I gotta have Him. Almost like a drug. I gotta be with Him. I gotta know Him. And then He says, salt is a preservative. I'm just going to throw this out there. Jesus is the only one who's going to help you persevere. He's the only one. He is the only one. You'll find this verse on the bottom of your notes, and I'm going to paraphrase this for you. I love this passage. He said, the work that I began in you, I'm going to finish. Life is going to get hard. It's going to get difficult. Crap is going to hit the fan. Bad things are going to happen. But there's a work that I'm doing inside of you, and I promise you that I'm going to finish it. And what I want you to understand about our Jesus is that He's more than just a promise maker. Jesus is a promise keeper. He is good for His word. There's nothing that I've ever found in His word that's been negated. He's never let me down. Things haven't gone my way sometimes, yeah. But He's held on to me because He said, Dan, there's a work that I started in you when you gave your life to me, and I'm going to bring it to completion. I'm going to finish this. Ephesians 2, he says, you are my masterpiece. A masterpiece takes time, it takes effort, it takes love, and it takes compassion, and it takes work. There's a work He's doing inside of you. And maybe some of you are just saying, I can't do another day. I can't do another day like this. I just can't. This is going on, and I've got this, and I've got this test, and this friend, and I just don't want to be here anymore. Jesus is saying, I got you. Look at me. I got you. And some of you are already arguing with me in your head saying, I tried your Jesus, I gave it a shot, and I was let down. I'll tell you what I told you before. Stop trying Jesus and just give in to Him. He will hold you together. He will heal you. He will bring out the best in you. He will create a longing inside of you, and He will hold you together. Heads bowed, eyes closed.